We all just get along, you know?
I haven't heard that in forever.
Okay, I'll call to order the city council meeting for Thursday, May 25th, 2023. Everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
David Webb. Here. Kevin Kadada.
Here.
Tim Root.
Here.
Cindy Fuhr.
Here.
And Scott Palava. Here.
Okay, tonight's agenda goes through 10F. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
Move we approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Councilman Kadada.
Second.
Second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of minutes. Consider approval of the minutes from the May 11th, 2023 meeting. Any additions, deletions, corrections to the minutes?
Move we approve the minutes as presented.
Motion by Councilperson Fuhr.
Second.
Second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There are no public hearings. On to presentation of citizens' petitions and comments. Comments limited to 2 minutes. So if you're not on the agenda, now is your opportunity to speak. 3 items on the consent agenda tonight: the monthly bills, the treasurer's report, and the Board of Commission minutes. Would anybody like any of those items pulled for discussion?
Move we approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Councilman Kadada.
Second.
Second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There is no old business. On to new business. Consider approval of Resolution 2023-19, a resolution approving the Rolling Ridge excuse me, Marketplace 6th Edition preliminary and final plats. Mr. Erickson.
All right, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This staff report is for 2 agenda items, considering Resolution 2023-19 and 2023-20. Specific to this project, the location of the subject property is currently addressed as 701 Ash Street Northeast. Legal description, Lot 1, Block 2 of the Rolling Ridge Marketplace 5th Edition. The property size currently is just over 4 acres. As proposed in the preliminary and final plats for the Rolling Ridge Marketplace 6th Edition, that subdivision would split the existing parcel into 3 lots. Lot 1, 1.71 acres, Lot 2, 1.34, and Lot 3, 1.31 acres. The property owner is First National Bank of Lee Center, and they do have a purchase agreement with the applicant to construct a car wash. And then the applicant is Jake Wetzel of Wetzel's Car Wash. The request, the applicant submitted a land use application requesting consideration of the preliminary and final plats for the Rolling Ridge Marketplace 6th Edition, and also a site plan review for a new 5,576 square foot commercial building or car wash. Staff's review, we met as a development committee and have worked with the applicant, and he has incorporated all of the requested changes to the construction documents and site plan. He did make those modifications in a timely manner. They pertain to planning and zoning, engineering, public works, and public safety. A couple outstanding items are the new geotechnical report for the new location of the proposed building, and then payment of some city development fees. Applicant is aware of these, and the red line conditional use permit that was approved by the council had a conditioned approval upon engineering approval, which would tie to the geotech report. The Planning Commission did meet earlier this month on May 15th. They held the required public hearing to consider the above applications. and voted unanimously 5-0 to recommend approval to the council to pass both the resolution for the preliminary and final plats and then the site plan. Should be noted that there were no written or verbal comments received prior to or at the hearing. Enclosed with this report is the proposed resolutions 2023-19, 2023-20, along with the preliminary and final plats and site plan documents. Unless the council has any questions, it would be staff's recommendation to approve the resolutions as proposed.
Okay, any comments, thoughts, concerns?
I think this site here is a very good site for this. And Planning and zoning had no objections to anything. Actually, nobody brought up any concerns at all, so.
I appreciate everyone's patience as we work through this and try to, find the best situation. And I think I think this will be a great spot. It's gonna be it's a welcome addition to the city.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-19.
Motion by Councilman Palava, second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of Resolution 2023-20, a resolution approving a site plan for 627 Ash Street Northeast. Mr. Erickson.
All right, thanks, Mayor, members of the council. Again, this ties to the staff report that I just gave. As you can see in exhibit, I believe it's exhibit A1, shows the site plan and supporting documents and some topography, construction entrances, location of silt fence during construction, turning movements, is kind of the city specs and detail plates included for compliance, landscaping, trees and bushes, turf establishment, again, the turning movements, and then the proposed 3 bays of the car wash. Also, exhibit A9 are the elevation shots of the building, and then colored elevation shots as well to show what the building will actually look like out in the field. Again, unless there's any questions, staff will recommend approval of the site plan.
On the elevations themselves, this is a metal facade on there. Is it block behind it, or is it metal built inside, or how is that? It's a very nice looking building, that's for sure. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, anybody else? Any concerns?
I move we approve resolution 2023-20.
Motion by Councilperson Fear,
Second.
second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There you go, sir. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Consider approval of Resolution 2023-21, a resolution ordering preparation of report on the improvement of the 2024 Street and Utility Improvement Project, which includes 4th Avenue Northwest, 5th Avenue Northwest, Ash Street Northwest between 3rd Avenue Northwest and 5th Avenue Northwest, Birch Street Northwest between 3rd Avenue Northwest and 4th Avenue Northwest, Mill Street Northwest and alley between 4th Avenue Northwest and 5th Avenue Northwest. Mr. Erickson.
All right, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. We had a neighborhood meeting at our last meeting earlier this month. Based off of discussion and direction provided at the meeting, it seemed likely that the project was moving forward. To comply with State Statute 429, the first step in the process would be completion of a feasibility study. WSB has prepared and submitted the attached proposed hourly not to exceed proposal in the amount of $51,590 to complete the feasibility study. It includes the streets that the mayor just mentioned: Ash Street between 3rd and 5th, 4th and 5th Northwest, Birch Northwest between 3rd and 4th, and then Mill Street, and then the alley between 4th and 5th Northwest. Also included for proposed improvements would be water main services, storm sewer repairs or improvements, sanitary sewer spot repairs, and then there were several drainage issues that were brought up by residents at the neighborhood meeting as well. Included items in the feasibility would be the topo survey, feasibility report and the preliminary design, the geotechnical report, and then as far as schedule, if approved tonight, feasibility would be presented to the council at the September 14th meeting. Completion of the feasibility study is the next step to determine the scope and costs associated with the project, and then also compliance with state statute 429. By approving the proposed resolution, council is approving the proposal submitted by WSB and authorizing them to complete the feasibility study. As far as the fiscal impact, as included in the packet, $51,590. Shortly after this memo was done, I did speak with the city engineer, and if Mill Street was not included in the project, looking at a $5,000 deduct, I believe is what we had talked about. So be $46,590 if we did not want to include Mill Street in the project. As far as alternatives, would be not to approve the quote submitted for the feasibility, and or not include Mill Street in the project, therefore not in the feasibility study, and then if it's not included, I would just revise the resolution to indicate such.
So if we didn't include that in the feasibility study, would we still be doing the water loop and all that stuff? It just wouldn't be any improvements above and beyond that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that water main loop is I would say a very important, if not one of the main reasons for this project.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Yeah, the $5,000 reduction would be just to not do a topographic survey in that area. I still would want to get a soil boring just because of that water main extension. And then we wouldn't estimate any costs or do a preliminary design if we left the road gravel versus paved, which were kind of the two options discussed.
Thank you.
I do think it's important to do the water main loop, but, you know, the part of that road, I don't know, that's necessary.
I think my question, because I asked you, I think there's like a no truck traffic sign on that road, right?
Mm-hmm.
But don't we want to encourage trucks on it if we're gonna blacktop it, or not? Is that, I mean, there's some concerns from the residents about using the residential streets. I'm just asking.
Correct. Ideally, Mill Street would be used, and I mean, on average, it's maybe 3 to 5 trucks a day either coming and going. I mean, just how the feed mill site is, really the only way out of there, out of the loading dock at least, is Mill Street. And I would say, you know, at least 8 to 5. The majority of the vehicle traffic would go to the feed mill.
Mm-hmm.
Cars, trucks, just kind of general customers picking up dog food or whatever.
So, I mean, could you bid that as an addendum, or what do you, or just not included or included, or what are we thinking?
We probably have to do it as in the feasibility study and then just.
When you bid it.
Delete it out.
Yeah, make it as an
Yeah,
option.
you could still include it in the feasibility study, and depending on what, you know, the estimated or, you know, projected cost is, and make a decision at that time. You know, as far as assessments, you're probably looking at the feed mill and the old bus garage, as far as commercial properties that would utilize that. You know, the city probably picking up 70% of that cost. I mean, just kind of get eyeballing, I guess. It would definitely be the overwhelming majority of that cost. But
Probably.
with that said, it would be paving the last gravel street in town
Right.
too.
Guess now's the time to do it if we are gonna do it, that's for sure.
There aren't any other options that I mean, you could lay down some, like some millings to, I mean, obviously that's not the perfect
There's really
surface.
not a problem with the surface or anything like that, it's just how permanent of a road.
Right.
I mean, we certainly could lay millings down. They're a little, the gravel is, I think, easier to grade out
Okay,
once the trucks do beat it up.
sure.
It would alleviate concerns in the winter, I can tell you that. Spring snowfalls and everything else, just eliminating gravel.
I did receive a couple of texts, actually. Approving the feasibility means we're going down the path, or we're going down the path either way, or what are we thinking?
Well, given the cost, I mean, it's a substantial investment as the first step. I guess if it was decided not to move forward with the project, it may be a updated feasibility study. I'm not aware of any timelines on the feasibility study. I know once you have the improvement hearing, you have to make a decision within 1 year of that. So maybe just condition changes in the feasibility, assessments maybe, but, the majority of the info in that feasibility would be good for quite a while.
It seemed like a lot of the apprehension was just because of the lack of maintenance. They don't wanna see that same thing, don't wanna see their money thrown away, which I understand.
Yeah, yeah.
But we've got a plan in place and,
I think the one is just the cost,
right.
It is what it is.
well, but I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's been paying the cost. It's,
Right.
If we put it off, it isn't gonna
Yeah.
get cheaper,
yeah.
you know.
I mean, I seem to
it's-
recall when we did Florida, the gravel, it wasn't unanimous that everybody wanted it.
There's a couple against.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if they weren't having to pay for it, they'd
Oh,
be in
for sure.
favor of it.
For sure.
So
Right.
it's that
Right.
slippery slope of,
It's
I
not
want
that
it all.
slippery. If it's free, we'll take it.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly. So, I mean, ultimately, they're in agreement that it needs to happen. It's
Yeah,
just they
there's
don't
no
wanna
doubt
pay
about
for it.
that.
Well,
Exactly
I mean,
right.
I don't wanna pay for gas or
Right.
taxes
Right.
or anything myself, so.
And I don't think it was just the road, just from hearing some of the comments, that they're having some very poor water
Right.
pressures and
Right.
there's
Yeah.
a lot of issues in that part of town.
Definitely need to.
I
no
would,
doubt
I would
about it.
assume that is our oldest road in town, fourth, I mean,
Yeah, there's no doubt that it needs to be done, that for all the reasons we talked about, the road and the infrastructure.
I think we gotta stay the course
yeah.
and move forward.
Okay,
I move we approve resolution 2023-21, including Mill Street.
Second.
motion by Councilman Kadada, second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of a proposal submitted by WSB in the hourly not to exceed amount of $27,465 for professional services for the Stika Park Skate Park Project. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. With the council approving this project earlier this year and construction anticipated in the first part of June, WSB submitted the attached proposal in an hourly not to exceed amount for construction administration, which would be the contract management, the pre-construction meeting, reviewing any shop drawings that would be submitted by the contractor, payments, general correspondence, full-time construction observation. This is based on a 2-week schedule provided by the contractor. They're anticipating a week of dirt work and then a week of concrete and restoration, basically to ensure compliance with the project plans and specs, general communication, punch list development, construction staking for the project, record plans, the post-construction survey, and then updating our data link with the as-bills, and then material testing, quality control for the aggregate, soils, and concrete. It is a hourly not to exceed proposal. Alternatives would be to not approve the proposal submitted, and then included with the staff report is the proposal itself. So, I think the majority of the expenses were in the full-time construction observation and the surveying.
with the amount of staff that we have in our arsenal, I think it'd be wise to get somebody in to help and manage these projects.
Okay.
I move we approve proposal submitted by WSB in the amount of $27,465.
Motion by Councilman Kadada,
Second.
second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Well, definitely be a nice project when it's completed. For sure. Really awesome. Consider approval of a quote submitted by Hydrovac Incorporated in the amount of $42,506.20 for jetting and televising existing sanitary sewer. Mr. Dornfeld.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Staff recommends hiring Hydrovac Incorporated to televise and jet the sanitary sewers in the southwest and upper northwest sections of town. The project stems from the need to comply with the city jetting policy and inspect large trunk sewer lines. The past 2 years, jetting and televising in the entire southeast, northeast, and lower northwest have been completed. This is the last step in the 3-year plan of jetting and televising all the sanitary sewers in the city. Proposals were sent to 7 different contractors: American Environmental, Visusewer, Hydrovac, Underground Technologies, Empire Pipe Services, Ritter and Ritter, and HydroClean. Of those, Ritter and Ritter is the only one that did not respond, and Hydrovac was the low bid. Hydrovac has televised and jetted numerous areas in town for past recon projects and various things. We are very pleased with their reports. They're easy to read and follow. The cost of this project has been budgeted for $25,000 for jetting and $25,000 for televising. And attached are just all the maps of what this 3-year process has been. It's gone very good. A lot of useful information. I know we've used these reports in the past for recon projects. The area that was just proposed, that's already been televised, and we just have all this on file. And with that said, this being the last step, it's staff's recommendation to move forward with Hydrovac.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Palava,
Second?
second by Councilperson Fuhrer. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so the last item on the agenda, recognition of Councilmember David Webb. Mr. Erickson.
All right, well, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Councilmember Webb has submitted his letter of resignation due to taking a job in a different state.
Boo. Sorry.
He-
Sorry.
Sorry.
Which
Sorry.
it is what it is.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
Which will be effective June 1st. Again, the reason for the resignation is he accepted a job in a different state. He was elected at the election in November of '21, took office a little over a year ago, January of '22. Served on the library board, the liquor committee. He did a good job and will be missed, and we wish him the best. Kind of moving forward from here, we've already been in contact with Rice County about a special election we're proposing to be held in November. There's only certain months of the year. Recent legislation dictates that you can only have special elections the second Tuesday of February, April, May, and August, and then the typical election day in November, which is the first Tuesday after the first Monday. Given the timing of the resignation, filing, and special election, again proposed for November, the City Council can choose to fill the position until that time. If it is decided to fill the vacancy temporarily, applications would be accepted in early July. Interviews would be held in mid to late July with appointment at the last meeting in July and the first meeting in August. The appointed person would serve from that time until basically the first meeting after the November election. I did contact legal, and they said that just given that time frame, it is not required to make an appointment. And again, the new council member would take office after being elected, not waiting until January of '24. So proposed timelines, June 1st, resignations effective. At the next meeting, July 8th, staff will be working on a resolution declaring the vacancy. That's the first step. There's technically not a vacancy until the council declares it. Special election November 7th, and then just kind of some admin dates. June 8th, declare the vacancy. July 18th, publish notice of filing. The 21st would be post the notice of filing. Filing would actually take place between August 1st and the 15th. Last day to withdraw your affidavit for candidacy would be the 17th of August. And then the last day for us to notify Rice County of a special election would be August 25th. I believe we have to notify the county 74 days in advance of the election. That's just a formality. We've already been working with them in scheduling training for staff. Other than that, I'll be contacting past election judges to see if they're interested in working the special election and kind of gearing up for the 3 elections next year: presidential primary, and presidential election. So,
There's no requirement to fill the position though.
in speaking with legal, no.
It's a little bit of a can of worms if you appoint somebody, kind of giving somebody a head start instead of a fair playing field, I guess. But I guess ultimately that's something we don't have to decide anything tonight though, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Even at that, we could accept applications, we don't have, we could interview and decide on none also.
Mhm.
Would that be correct?
I suppose you could.
Just don't know if you'd want to go through that
Yeah,
whole
I understand.
process.
I understand.
Yeah. But anyway, so that, we'll discuss that at a later date, but we have a little certificate of appreciation from Mr. Webb. Should we take a picture as a council? Somebody got their camera?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because I'm sure you're going to want to hang it on your mantle when you get to.
Chief, do you have some handcuffs or something, we could just handcuff him to his chair or something?
Right.
Scrap one.
Can you squeeze back here, or do you want to go around the front?
Yeah, let's go.
Go in
The
front.
front, okay.
It's better.
Yes, sir, you were famous at one time there, Mr. Webb.
We can say we knew you win.
Yeah, that's right. I tell people I know you.
Great.
All right. Yes, thank you again for all your work, sir.
These are nothing, man.
Done it a couple of times, we know what to expect.
Okay, that concludes the planned agenda. Any department reports? Mr. Dornfeld?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. As far as the park department goes, Trent Memorial, we tore out the asphalt and railroad ties. There were far more railroad ties than we anticipated. But they all came out, everything is good. We gotta get the sonotubes drilled and get those poured, that's step number 1, then the walls, then the flat work will be done. The WAM is in, Dick's been mowing with it. He seems to be pleased with it, it's doing a good job. Compost was sifted last week, didn't take long for it all to disappear. Public Works did save most of it, it's at the wastewater treatment plant, so nobody can access it. June 6th is still the scheduled date for the sewer bypass and base elbow installation. The pump is in that we purchased. Today, actually, some new news for the water department. We're just continuing the well 3 investigation of, tossing up the options, do we seal it, do we not? Renters came down again. We did not open the well to the system, but there are some ports that we had in the well house that we were able to fire the well up and turn it on and for the little bits that we couldn't get anything to go wrong. So, just kind of scratching our heads, you know, everything seemed to be good, so, you know, I'll just keep working on the process and weighing out our options and benefits and everything else. Demonstration lane is up on Birch Street. I've been getting many text messages of my friends thanking me for putting that up. Crosswalks are starting to be painted this week. Flowers and hanging baskets will be hung tomorrow. Laura planted the flowers. I noticed some at City Hall. The welcome signs are planted. Then I've just been working with contractors, planning out the start of the additional mill and overlays that we're doing. County Road 4, the trail projects, skate parks, pollinator grant that we did not receive. Been told, you know, for what it's worth, we're a shoe-in the fall, so, you know, I'll just keep you updated on that. BCM is in town, working on finalizing the punch list. I've been working with Jake to figure out when the mill's coming, so we can just kind of coordinate everything all at once.
Okay, thank you, sir. That, how do you get rid of like the timbers and all that kind of stuff from the ballpark?
Well, they're just at our shop right now. I was gonna talk with Joel, I guess I can ask you guys, if anybody wants them. There's a bunch of spikes in there. I know there's some interest in staff, wanting them for a driveway installation or something.
I just, I mean, do they have to be legally disposed of a certain way? Can they just go in a dumpster or what?
My plan was to just haul them to Rice County.
Oh, I see.
But if the council and
Yeah.
staff is okay with just getting rid of them, I guess I don't, there's no value to them
No,
whatsoever.
no. I just had, I was more curious than anything, you know.
The ones that were, I mean, I don't remember, I should say I vaguely remember, it was all railroad ties going down to the old grandstand. And it was built up like 3 feet. So those ones that were buried were actually in really good shape. It's the
Yeah.
ones that were on the surface that were in tough shape.
It was kind of interesting because we built that 52 over here by Milton Corbell, and that's what they used in the olden days to bridge the low areas, is creosote timbers and all those
Yeah.
kind of things. And they really, I remember when we excavated, they looked like they were new yet, you
Yeah.
know, after a number of years. But anyway,
The ones below were
Yeah.
shocked, you know, I go down with the forks and it's like, more?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Anyway, a little off target there, but okay. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate all your work. Shabani.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Just want to give you some project updates. The trail project will start next Wednesday, May 31st. The contractor is going to start at Trenda Park and install the drain tile there, reclaim the pavement and pave it and just do it all at once, and then move on to the trails on 8th Avenue and 15th Avenue backyard areas. So letters were mailed to residents a couple of weeks ago, just letting them know about the project, that their yards will be restored, you know, market irrigation and pet fences. And then we are obtaining right of entries as well from residents, so that's in process. And then that project is expected to take about 3 weeks to be completed. And then the Stika Skate Park, they plan to start June 5th with the excavation and then the concrete work after that. So again, a 2-week duration is anticipated for that project. And then CASA 4, you've seen the signs that the road will be closed starting June 5th. We will keep coordinating with Rice County on that. But access is to be provided from 5th Avenue out here to the north to those businesses. And then as we kind of reported before, working with some directional signs for JC Park. And then the water main and sewer work is anticipated towards the end of June. But as they start, we'll be in touch. They'll have weekly progress meetings so that we're up to date and can coordinate with them. And then as far as last year's street reconstruction project, as Joe had mentioned, the contractor BCM is going to start some of that punch list work. Tomorrow they are going to be, I believe it's still on schedule, completing some concrete work in the alley at Alabama and Second and some other punch list items. And then the wear course has yet to go on, and that is to be completed by June 30th. We don't have a schedule yet on that. And then as the council had approved the feasibility report for the 2024 project, I just got word today that our soil boring crew does have an opening next week to complete those soil borings. There's about 9 of them that were presented in the proposal. And so if staff or council has any objections, let me know. But it's kind of a window that opened up. They're backed up a few months. So we would like to proceed with getting those borings next week.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I have.
Mr. Erickson?
A few things real quick. Last week, the week before, the Park Board and Planning Commission met. Been meeting with several companies regarding the window RFP for City Hall. EDA met last week. Towards the end of last week, I met with MnDOT and their consultants on the ADA walk for their their Highway 19 mill and overlay project for 2030. Then earlier this week, attended a Smith webinar on their REV program, Rural Entrepreneurial Venture Program, which was discussed at the EDA meeting last week. And then upcoming meetings, we've got the budget meeting on Monday the 5th and council later that week on the 8th.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your work. Councilman Webb?
My last word for it, huh? The library board met, and I think, I forget the lady's name, but there was one of the employees announced their retirement. And I think it was this week as her last week. And so they're looking to replace her, but I think it's of course that's been the long term. I'm blanking on her name. But you might know who it, Joel. I don't know. Darlene, thank you, yeah, so. And that's hopefully, I think Margaret wants to try and fill that spot soon, so. There you go.
Good. Okay.
That's all I have. Yep.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Cadado?
Parks met on May 15th, a couple things we had. We had Laura Carpentier, we authorized her to purchase and plant the downtown hanging flower baskets and the welcome sign. She's been doing that for years. She does a great job and we thank her for that. Joe had updated on Trend Memorial Park. The pickleball courts are in.
Nice.
We're looking at doing some marketing events, probably Facebook and maybe something on our trails of almost like a bulletin board and using our kiosks that are there to promote different things in town. Skate park grand opening, we're looking at early August for a ribbon cutting on that. We'll keep that updated when we get to an actual date. And we worked on our preliminary 2024 budget. We had our planning and zoning right after that, and we had the wet seas plat and site plans that we approved tonight. And that's all I have.
You're a busy guy. You should take a vacation.
All right.
Thank you for all your work.
Right.
5 more minutes.
Right.
Thank you for all your work, Kevin.
Thank you.
Seriously. Good job. Councilperson Farrer?
The liquor committee is on hiatus till fall, and the EDA met last week, and we are working together with the chamber to put on a networking event that'll be held June 6th.
Okay. Thank
That's
you.
about it.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Councilman Calavo?
EDA was covered, and I guess thanks to the people that came out to the Chamber Street Fair, it was probably the best attended. We had no complaints. Everyone, they appreciated the weather and everything, so that was great. And so we got our event in June, and then, always looking for volunteers for Community Day. I know it's a little bit early, but that's going to be coming up in just a few months.
You should fly back for that, Dave.
Well, it's a fun time.
Buy you a beer.
Just a couple of things, as you know, it's graduation for our local schools, so graduation to TCU in New Prague, all the seniors, I think New Prague's graduation is tomorrow night. But TCU's is tomorrow night also, okay. And Joe knows someone very, very close to him, so congratulations to your daughter. And then lastly, of course, Monday's Memorial Day, and the Legion will be having their annual ceremony there at Veterans Park and all that, so. Thanks again to all the servicemen and women for their sacrifices over the years. Wouldn't be America without them, that's for sure. So that's about all I have.
Move to adjourn?
Motion by Councilman Palava,
Second?
second by Councilperson Fuhr. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.